The great archive floated in the darkness between stars. It was old, older than most species in the galaxy. Its halls stretched for thousands of kilometers, filled with the history of 10,000 civilizations. Cithron walked through these halls every day. He was young for a Velkari, only 200 years old. His blue skin glowed softly in the dim light as he moved between the towering data columns. He loved his work. He loved discovering old stories, forgotten wars, and dead empires. Today, he was looking for something specific. His teacher, the ancient Corveth, had given him a simple task: find information about humanity's early expansion into the galaxy. It should have been easy, but Cithron had found something strange. Deep in the restricted section, hidden behind 7 layers of security, he discovered a file. The file was marked with symbols he had never seen before. Red symbols. Warning symbols. The label read, Species Extinction Event. Human Causation. Cithron's 3 eyes blinked in confusion. Humans? The friendly traders? The species that adopted alien pets and shared their strange music with everyone? Those humans had caused an extinction event? He tried to open the file. He tried again with his historian credentials. Access denied. He tried a 3rd time, using every code he knew. The system responded with a new message. This file requires Elder Council approval. Any attempt to access without permission will be reported to Galactic Concordance Security. Cithron stepped back from the console. His hearts beat faster. What could possibly be so dangerous about human history? He found Corveth in the reading chamber. The old being's gray body bent over an ancient text. Corveth was over 3,000 years old. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had witnessed first contact with over 100 species. Teacher, Cithron said, I found something strange. Corveth did not look up. You found the sealed file. Cithron stopped. You knew it was there? Of course I knew. Corveth finally raised his head. His eyes, clouded with age, looked tired. I wondered how long it would take you to discover it. You are curious, like all young historians. Too curious, perhaps. What is it? What did the humans do? Corveth was silent for a long moment. Then he gestured to a chair beside him. Sit down, young one. I will tell you a story. A story that every elder species knows, but none will speak of. A story about why we treat humans the way we do. Cithron sat. He had never seen his teacher look so serious. You think you know humans, Corveth began. You see them in the trading stations, laughing and joking. You see them playing with children of other species. You see them crying at sad stories that are not even their own. Cithron nodded. That was exactly how he saw humans. Many species have made that mistake, Corveth said. They see human kindness and think it means weakness. They see human tears and think it means they are easy to break. They do not understand the truth. What truth? Corveth leaned forward. Human emotion is not weakness. It is fuel. Their love can move mountains. Their joy can light up worlds. But their anger... He paused. Their anger can burn galaxies. Cithron felt a chill run down his spine. What happened? 42 years ago, there was a species called the Vrakthari Dominion. They were conquerors. Slavers. They had built their empire on the bones of weaker species for 3,000 years. They were proud and cruel and utterly without mercy. I have never heard of them, Cithron said. No, you would not have. Corveth's voice dropped low. We do not speak their name anymore. We call them only the erased. Because that is what the humans did to them. They erased them, completely. Cithron's blood ran cold. Erased? You mean... I mean exactly what I say. The Vrakthari Dominion controlled 340 star systems. They had a population of 23 billion. They had the 3rd largest military fleet in the galaxy. Corveth's eyes met Cithron's. And now they are gone. Every single one of them. Every man, woman, and child, every building, every book, every genetic sample, gone, as if they never existed. That is impossible, Sithrin whispered. It happened, but the Galactic Concordance would never allow. The Concordance could not stop it. Corveth shook his head slowly. No one could stop it. Every species in the galaxy stood aside and watched. Some because they were afraid, some because they knew the Vrakthari deserved what was coming. But all of them learned the same lesson that day. What lesson? Corveth stood up, his old bones creaking. He walked to the window that looked out into the endless stars. For a long time, he did not speak. There is a reason, he finally said. Why? Every species in the Concordance has the same first rule in their diplomatic handbook. Do you know what it is? Sithrin shook his head. Never anger the humans. Corveth turned back to face him. Not because they are the strongest. They are not. Not because they are the smartest. They are not that either. But because when humans decide something must be destroyed, they do not stop. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy. They continue until the job is done. No matter the cost. Sithrin sat in silence, trying to process what he was hearing. The friendly humans. The laughing, crying, pet-adopting humans. They had committed genocide? I see the confusion in your eyes, Corveth said. You are wondering how such a kind species could do such a terrible thing. That is the wrong question, young one. Then what is the right question? Corveth returned to his seat, his old eyes filled with something that looked like fear. The right question is, what did the Vrakthari do to make them so angry? He settled back into his chair and closed his eyes. Listen carefully, Sithrin. I will tell you the story from the beginning, and when I am finished, you will understand why the galaxy will never forget. You will understand why every species, no matter how powerful, treats humanity with careful respect. And you will understand why the file you found will remain sealed forever. Sithron leaned forward, his heart's pounding, and Corveth began to tell the tale of New Eden. New Eden was a beautiful world. It sat at the edge of human space, far from Earth and far from the busy trade routes. It was a farming planet, covered in golden fields and blue oceans. The sky was always clear. The air always smelled of growing things. 2.3 million humans lived there. Most were farmers. Some were teachers, doctors, engineers. There were families who had lived on New Eden for 4 generations, children who had never seen any other world. Old people who wanted nothing more than to watch the sunset over the wheat fields. It was a peaceful place, a quiet place, the kind of place where nothing bad ever happened. Until the Vrakthari came. The Vrakthari Dominion had been watching humanity for years. They saw a species that smiled too much. A species that wasted time on art and music. A species that cried at sad stories and laughed at silly jokes. They saw weakness. Commander Vreth of the Vrakthari Third Fleet looked at the reports on New Eden. Minimal defenses. No military ships. Just farmers and their families. Easy prey, he said to his officers. We will take this world in one day, and we will send a message to the humans. Submit to the Dominion, or watch your people suffer. The attack came without warning. Vrakthari warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above New Eden. There was no declaration of war. No demands. No negotiation. Just fire raining down from the sky. The planetary defense grid lasted 12 minutes. The local police forces lasted 2 hours. By sunset on the first day, the Vrakthari controlled every city on the planet. But Commander Vreth was not satisfied with simple conquest. He wanted to send a message. He wanted humanity to understand their place in the galaxy. So he ordered his troops to be cruel. They broadcast everything, every home invasion, every family torn apart, every act of violence and humiliation. They sent the footage directly to human communication networks, making sure that billions of humans across dozens of worlds could see exactly what was happening. They wanted humanity to be afraid. They did not understand what they were really doing. In a small town called Hope's Landing, there was an elementary school. 342 children attended that school. The youngest was 4 years old. The oldest was 11. The Vrakthari soldiers arrived at noon. When the footage of what happened at that school reached Earth, it spread across the planet in minutes. People watched, in their homes, in their offices, in the streets. They watched, in complete silence. And something broke. Human ambassadors on 100 different worlds received the news at almost the same time. Witnesses later described the same scene, playing out everywhere. The human diplomats would be smiling, talking, doing their normal work. Then they would receive a message on their personal devices. They would look at the screen. Their faces would go completely blank, and without a word, they would stand up and leave. Within 24 hours, every human embassy in the galaxy was closed. Every human trade ship turned around and headed home. Every diplomatic channel went silent. The Galactic Concordance was confused. This was not how species responded to attacks. There should be demands for help, calls for emergency meetings, requests for military support. But there was nothing. Just silence. Ambassador Threll of the Concordance tried to contact Earth directly. He had known humanity for decades. He had attended human weddings and birthday parties. He considered many humans his friends. "Please," he said into the communication device, "let us help you. Tell us what you need. We can negotiate with the Vrakthari. We can." The channel cut off. He tried again and again for days. No response. He sent messages through every method he knew. Nothing came back. On the 7th day of human silence, Threll visited his old friend, a Threskin elder named Morveth. The Thresskins were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They had seen much. "What is happening?" Threll asked. "Why will the humans not speak to us? Why are they not asking for help?" Morveth was sitting by his window, staring out at the stars with an expression that looked almost like grief. "Because they do not want help," the old Threskin said quietly. "Then what do they want?" Morveth turned to look at Threll. His ancient eyes were filled with something terrible. Something like pity. "You still do not understand, do you? None of you understand. You think the humans are hiding because they are afraid. You think their silence means they are weak, or broken, or grieving. Then what does it mean?" Morveth shook his head slowly. "I am over 4,000 years old. I have seen wars that burned across galaxies. I have seen empires rise and fall. But I have never seen anything like what is coming." "None. What is coming?" The old Threskin's voice dropped to a whisper. "The humans are not grieving, Ambassador. They are not afraid. Their silence means only one thing." "What?" "They are planning." Threll felt cold suddenly. "Planning what?" Morveth looked out the window again, toward the distant region of space where Earth lay. "The Vrakthari think they have won a victory. They think they have shown the galaxy that humans are weak. They have been celebrating for a week now, laughing at human tears, mocking human grief." The old Threskin closed his eyes. "They are fools. Absolute fools. They have just done something that no species should ever do." "What?" "They hurt human children. They killed them. And then they laughed about it." Threll was silent. "In all my years," Morveth continued, "I have learned one truth about humanity. Their kindness is not weakness. Their kindness is a choice. They choose to be gentle. They choose to be friendly. They choose to forgive. But when someone takes that choice away from them," he paused, "when someone forces them to become something else, what happens?" Morveth opened his eyes. They were wet with tears. "Go home, Ambassador. Go home and tell your people to stay away from human space. Tell them to stay away from Vrakthari space. Tell them to stay away from any place where those two territories touch. Because very soon, there will be nothing in those places but fire and death. He turned back to the window. The Vrakthari have woken something. Something that humanity tries very hard to keep sleeping. And now that it is awake, his voice trailed off. No. No, he have a court. End in 4. No, he have a court. End in 4. No, he have a court. End in 4. Now? Now we will all see what happens when humans stop choosing to be kind. 3 weeks after the attack on New Eden, humanity finally broke its silence, but it was not the message anyone expected. The message came on every frequency, in every language known to the galaxy. It reached every station, every ship, every planet with a communication device. There was no escaping it. The voice that spoke was calm, cold, without any emotion at all. This is the United Human Government. We are broadcasting to all species of the Galactic Concordance and to the Vrakthari Dominion. 3 weeks ago, the Vrakthari Dominion attacked our colony world of New Eden. They killed 2.3 million of our people. They killed our children. They broadcast their crimes across the galaxy like entertainment. We have heard the offers of help from the Concordance. We have heard the calls for negotiation and peace. We have heard the suggestions that we accept tribute and move forward. We decline all of these offers. Effective immediately, the species known as the Vrakthari Dominion is no longer recognized as a sentient civilization under human law. They have no rights. They have no protections. They are not people. They are a problem to be solved. This is not a declaration of war. War's end. This will not. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, there was silence. Ambassadors looked at each other with wide eyes. Military commanders checked their equipment, certain there had been some mistake. Surely the humans did not mean what they had said, but the humans meant every word. Within hours of the broadcast, reports began coming in from human space. Civilian ships were being recalled from every corner of the galaxy. Trade routes were abandoned. Manufacturing worlds that had been producing consumer goods went dark. When they came back online days later, they were producing something else. Weapons. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the newly completed warship Remembrance. She was 52 years old. She had spent 30 years in the human fleet, mostly doing escort duty and anti-piracy work. She had never fired a shot in anger. That was about to change. "How many ships do we have?" she asked her second-in-command. "Currently operational? 4,327. More coming online every day. And the Vrakthari? Intelligence estimates their total fleet at around 6,000 ships. Larger on average than ours. Better armed." Admiral Chen nodded slowly. "It does not matter." "Ma'am?" She turned to look at her crew. They were young, most of them. Many had family on New Eden. All of them had volunteered. "The numbers do not matter," she said. "The Vrakthari have more ships. They have more experience. They have a military tradition that goes back 3,000 years. She paused. "But they do not have what we have." "What is that, Admiral?" Chen looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vrakthari were celebrating their easy victory. They were laughing about human weakness. They had no idea what was coming. "Purpose," she said quietly. "They fight for conquest, for pride, for power. We fight for our children." She turned back to her crew. "Paint the names on the hull. Every child from New Eden. Every name." The crew set to work. Across human space, the same scene was playing out on thousands of ships. The names of the dead, painted in white letters on black hulls. Some ships had so many names that they covered every surface. When they flew in formation, they looked like flying memorials, flying gravestones. The Galactic Concordance sent delegation after delegation to try to stop what was coming. They begged humanity to reconsider. They offered military support if the humans would agree to limited war. They offered to pressure the Vrakthari into surrendering the soldiers responsible for New Eden. Every offer was refused. "You do not understand," the human representative told the Concordance. We are not looking for justice. Justice implies that some punishment can make this right. Nothing can make this right. The Vrakthari took our children. They laughed while they did it. And now we are going to remove them from existence. Not because it will bring our children back. It will not. We are going to do it because the universe should not contain the species that did this. The Concordance representative was shocked. But there are innocent Vrakthari. Children who had nothing to do with New Eden. Families who... There were innocent humans on New Eden too. The human's voice was flat. There were children on New Eden. The Vrakthari did not care. They chose to make this a war without limits. We are simply accepting their terms. One by one, the concordant species began withdrawing their ambassadors from both human and Vrakthari space. They did not want to be anywhere near what was about to happen. The Vrakthari, meanwhile, were preparing their defenses. They had expected some kind of response from humanity, but this was beyond anything they had imagined. Reports were coming in about massive human fleet movements, about new weapons being developed, about something called Project Terminus, that nobody could get any information about. Commander Vreth, the same officer who had led the attack on New Eden, was now in charge of the defense of the Vrakthari homeworld. He stood before the High Council, trying to calm their fears. The humans are angry, he admitted. But anger fades. They will attack, we will hurt them, and then they will come to their senses. They are a practical species. When they see the cost of this war, they will negotiate. Are you certain? Asked the High Chancellor. They are humans, Vreth said with contempt. They cry at sad stories. They get attached to animals. They are soft. Yes, they are angry now. But softness cannot be erased by anger. They will break before we do. The High Chancellor nodded slowly. Very well. Prepare our defenses. Let the humans come. We will teach them the price of challenging the Dominion. Vreth bowed and left the council chamber. He did not know that human ships had already crossed into Vrakthari space. He did not know that the first Vrakthari colony had already fallen. He did not know that there were no human demands, no calls for surrender, no chance for negotiation. The human ships simply arrived, destroyed everything, and moved on. Admiral Chen received the report of the first colony's destruction while standing on her bridge. She read the casualty figures, without expression. Survivors? She asked. None, ma'am. As ordered. None. She nodded, moved to the next target. Somewhere deep inside her, the woman who had once laughed at human comedies and cried at human tragedies was screaming. But she did not let that woman speak. She could not afford to. Not yet. Not until the job was done. Behind her, the names of the New Eden dead covered the walls of her ship, like prayers, like promises, and the fleet moved deeper into Vrakthari space, leaving only silence in its wake. The Vrakthari had 3,000 years of military tradition. They had conquered dozens of species. They had never lost a war. They lost this one in 11 months. At first, they fought with confidence. Their fleets were larger. Their weapons were powerful. Their soldiers were bred for war from birth. They had every advantage. But the humans did not fight like any enemy they had faced before. Normal enemies attacked one system at a time. Normal enemies tried to hold territory. Normal enemies cared about their own casualties. The humans did none of these things. They attacked everywhere at once. All 340 Vrakthari systems found themselves under assault within the same week. There was no front line. There was no safe territory. There was nowhere to run. And the humans did not seem to care how many of their own ships they lost. Captain Dreth of the Vrakthari heavy cruiser Conqueror watched in disbelief as 3 human destroyers flew directly into his firing solution. He destroyed all 3 of them easily. But while he was killing those 3, 7 more had gotten past him. They ignored the Conqueror completely. They flew straight for the troop transports he was protecting. They are insane, Dreth whispered. They are throwing their lives away. They. His second officer shook his head. No, Captain. Look at their formation. They knew exactly what they were doing. They sacrificed 3 ships to kill our transports. They traded 3 for 7. But our ships are worth more than theirs. Our technology is superior. Yes. But they have more ships. And they keep building more. For every ship we destroy, 10 more arrive. For every system we defend, they take 2 others. The officer's voice was hollow. Captain, I do not think they intend to stop. Ever. He was right. The Galactic Concordance watched in horror as the war unfolded. Human weapons became more terrible with each passing month. Artificial black holes swallowed entire fleets. Planet-killing weapons turned Vrakthari worlds into lifeless rocks. Biological agents targeted Vrakthari DNA specifically, leaving other species unharmed. Ambassadors from neutral species tried again and again to negotiate a peace. The Vrakthari were now willing to give up almost anything. They offered to return all the humans taken from New Eden. They offered territory. They offered tribute. They offered to execute every soldier who had participated in the attack. The humans refused every offer. There is nothing they can give us that we want, the human representative said. Accept their extinction, and they will give us that, whether they want to or not. The Vrakthari High Council met in emergency session. The war was lost. Everyone knew it. The only question now was survival. We must surrender completely, the High Chancellor said. Give them everything. Accept any terms. We can rebuild from slavery. We cannot rebuild from death. They will not accept surrender, Commander Vreth said. His voice was broken now, nothing like the confident officer who had attacked New Eden. I have tried. I have sent messages on every channel. I have begged. They do not respond. Then we must appeal to the Concordance. Surely they will not allow genocide. But the Concordance would not intervene. Every species remembered the footage from New Eden. Every species remembered the children. And every species was afraid of being next. The final siege of the Vrakthari homeworld lasted 80 days. Human ships surrounded the planet in a shell so thick that no light from the stars could reach the surface. The Vrakthari fought with everything they had left. They launched every ship, fired every weapon, spent every resource. It was not enough. Admiral Chen led the final assault personally. Her ship, the Remembrance, was scarred from 100 battles. Half her crew was dead. But the names of the New Eden children still covered every wall. Admiral, her communications officer said, we are receiving a transmission from the surface. It is from the Vrakthari civilian government. They are asking to surrender. They say they will give us anything. They are begging. Chen was silent for a long moment. She looked at the names on the walls. She remembered the footage from New Eden. She remembered the sound of Vrakthari laughter as human children died. No response, she said. Ma'am? No response. Continue the assault. On the surface of the Vrakthari homeworld, chaos ruled. Millions of civilians tried to flee, but there was nowhere to go. Human ships destroyed any vessel that tried to leave the planet. Human troops landed in wave after wave, pushing deeper into the cities. A Vrakthari mother named Keth held her 2 children close as human soldiers approached her shelter. She had done nothing wrong. She had never even seen a human before the war. She was just a teacher. Her children were just children. Please, she said in broken human language she had learned from captured broadcasts. Please. Children. Innocent. Please. The human soldier stopped. He looked at her. He looked at the children. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Something that might have been doubt, might have been pity. Then his commanding officer spoke in his ear. He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the flicker was gone. I'm sorry, he said. Those were the last words Keth ever heard. The extermination was systematic and complete. It took 3 more months after the homeworld fell. Human teams spread across every former Vrakthari system. They destroyed cities. They burned libraries. They hunted down survivors in the deepest caves and the most remote outposts. They found genetic samples in research facilities and destroyed them. They found historical records in museums and burned them. They found Vrakthari refugees hiding on neutral worlds and demanded their return. Most neutral species complied immediately. When it was over, nothing remained. 23 billion Vrakthari had existed before the war. Now there were none. Not a single living member of the species. Not a single cell of Vrakthari DNA. Not a single book written in their language. Not a single statue or painting or song. The erased. That is what the galaxy would call them. The species that was removed from existence so completely that it was as if they had never been. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Remembrance as the last Vrakthari world burned below her. Her crew was silent. There was no celebration, no cheering, just exhaustion and something that felt like hollow emptiness. "It is done," her second officer said quietly. Chen nodded. She looked at the names on the walls one more time. 342 children, from one school in Hope's Landing. 2.3 million humans from New Eden. "Set course for home," she said. "What should I tell the crew, Admiral?" Chen was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "Tell them we won. Tell them the children are avenged. Tell them they can grieve now." A single tear rolled down her cheek. The first she had allowed herself in 11 months. "Tell them we never have to do this again." The fleet turned toward human space. Behind them, the former territories of the Vrakthari Dominion were silent. 340 star systems, with no one left alive to inhabit them. Empty worlds. Dead cities. Monuments to what happens when humanity stops being kind. The war was over, but the galaxy would never forget. Sithran sat in complete silence when Corveth finished speaking. The archive around him seemed darker somehow. Colder. The endless halls of knowledge felt less like a treasure and more like a warning. 23 billion, he finally whispered. They killed 23 billion people. Yes. Corveth's voice was heavy with age and memory. But that is genocide. The greatest crime possible. Yes, it is. Sithran looked at his teacher with confusion. And no one punished them? The Concordance just allowed this to happen? Corveth smiled, but there was no humor in it. Who would punish them? The Concordance? The same Concordance that watched the Vrakthari attack New Eden and did nothing? The same Concordance that had watched the Vrakthari enslave other species for 3,000 years without intervention? The old historian shook his head. No, young one. No one punished the humans. Some species even thanked them privately. The Vrakthari had many enemies. Many species had suffered under their rule. When the humans removed them from existence, there was grief for the method, but not for the result. Sithran struggled to process this. His entire understanding of humanity was falling apart. But after the war, what happened to the humans? Did they become conquerors themselves? Did they continue to destroy other species? No. Corveth's answer was simple. That is the strangest part of the story. Within 10 years of the Vrakthari extinction, humanity had returned to normal. They reopened their embassies. They resumed trading. They went back to laughing and crying, and adopting alien pets, and sharing their music. How is that possible? How could they do something so terrible and then just go back to being friendly? Corveth was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. I have thought about this question for many years, and I believe I understand the answer. One quote. He turned to face Sithran directly. Humans are not naturally violent. They do not enjoy killing. They do not want to conquer. What they did to the Vrakthari was not who they are. It was who they became when they were forced to. I do not understand. Think of it this way, Corveth said. Most species have a fixed nature. We, Velkari, are curious. The Threscans are cautious. The Vrakthari were cruel. We are what we are. We do not change. He paused. Humans are different. Humans can become anything. When they are at peace, they become builders and artists and healers. When they are attacked, they become soldiers, and when their children are killed. His voice dropped. When their children are killed, they become something else entirely, something that no other species can match. Sithran thought about this. You are saying that their kindness and their violence come from the same place? Yes. Their emotions, their capacity to care deeply. When they lose something they love, they will destroy anything that took it from them. Corveth's eyes were distant. That is why the Vrakthari failed. They saw human emotions and thought they were looking at weakness. They did not understand that they were looking at a weapon, the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. But what about now? Sithran asked. The humans have been peaceful for 40 years. What if another species does something to anger them? Corveth laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Ah. Now you ask the question that keeps every Elder Council in the galaxy awake at night. He stood and walked to the window. The stars glittered in the darkness. Countless worlds, with countless species, all living under an unspoken rule. After the Vrakthari War, every species in the Concordance quietly updated their diplomatic protocols. Every military academy added new courses on human psychology. Every first contact team was given strict instructions. Do not provoke the humans. Do not threaten the humans. Do not, under any circumstances, harm human children. Has anyone tested these rules since then? Corveth smiled grimly. Once. About 20 years ago. A younger species called the Moravex had just achieved faster than light travel. They looked at the galaxy and saw humans everywhere, trading, laughing, being friendly, and they made the same mistake the Vrakthari made. Sithran leaned forward. What happened? The Moravex leadership proposed a preemptive strike against Earth. They argued that humanity was too dangerous to exist, that the galaxy would never be safe as long as a species capable of total genocide was allowed to roam free. They brought this proposal to a closed session of the Concordance, and the session was scheduled for 3 days. It ended in 1 hour. Corveth turned back to face his student. 32 species, including several who had been Moravex allies, offered to personally deliver the Moravex delegation to human authorities as a gesture of goodwill. Sithran's eyes went wide. They turned on their own allies. They were afraid. Everyone is afraid. The humans do not threaten. They do not boast. They do not remind the galaxy of what they did. But no one has forgotten. No one will ever forget. They effer. Corveth returned to his seat. His old body seemed heavier than before, weighed down by the memories he had shared. The Moravex withdrew their proposal. Their leadership was replaced within a month. Their new government sent a formal apology to Earth and offered substantial trade agreements. The humans accepted graciously, as if nothing had happened. He shook his head. They are very good at pretending, at being kind, at making the galaxy forget what they are capable of. But you remember, Sithran said quietly. I remember. Corveth's eyes met his student's. I was alive during the war. I saw the footage. I saw the human fleets painting names on their hulls. I saw the silence from Vrakthari space when it was over. He paused. And I saw the humans return to their laughter, and their tears, and their kindness, as if nothing had changed. Did anything change inside them? I do not know. Perhaps they carry the weight of what they did. Perhaps it haunts them. Perhaps that is why they try so hard to be kind now. A species does not commit genocide without scars. Corveth closed his eyes. Or perhaps they have simply decided that being kind is a better choice. And they are very good at making choices. Sithran stood and walked to the window where his teacher had stood. He looked out at the stars, at the galaxy he thought he had understood. "I will never see humans the same way again," he said. "No, you will not." Corveth's voice was gentle now. "But remember this, young one. The humans did not choose to become what they became. They were forced. The Vrakthari took something precious from them and left them no other option. The fault lies with those who pushed them to that point, not with the humans themselves. That does not make it right. No. It does not. But it makes it understandable." Corveth rose slowly to his feet. "And it gives us a lesson. A lesson that every species in this galaxy has learned. A lesson that will never be forgotten." Sithran turned to face his teacher. "What lesson?" Corveth walked to the door of the reading chamber. Before he left, he looked back one more time. Human kindness is not weakness. It is a choice. Every day, they choose to be friendly. They choose to be gentle. They choose to laugh and cry, and care about others. And as long as the galaxy respects that choice, they will continue making it. He paused at the door, his ancient eyes carrying the weight of everything he had seen. But if someone takes that choice away from them, if someone forces them to become something else, if someone hurts their children, their families, their loved ones, he stepped through the door. Then the galaxy will learn, once again, what happens when humans stop choosing to be kind. The door closed behind him. Sithran stood alone in the reading chamber, surrounded by the accumulated knowledge of 10,000 civilizations. He thought about the friendly human traders he had met in the markets, the laughing human tourists he had seen at the observation decks, the crying humans at the memorial services for other species' tragedies. Such a warm species. Such a caring species. He shivered, and somewhere in the archive, the sealed file on the Vrakthari remained locked forever, a warning to any who would forget. The humans were kind because they chose to be, and the galaxy would do everything in its power to make sure they never chose otherwise.